Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, my review of the Boox Go Color 7. Spoiler alert, it's pretty great. So two things before we start. The first one is that I am reviewing this device as a reader. I'm not a tech blogger. I'm not a huge kind of gadget nerd. I'm just someone who really enjoys reading and who enjoys reading digitally. I'll leave a link in the description to the video to where you can view kind of the full specs of the device. But yeah, do check out other people's videos. There are a few other videos floating around on YouTube reviewing this device if you want more of that kind of techie side of things. The second thing to say is that Boox very kindly sent me this device for free. I'm also now a Boox affiliate, so there'll be links to where you can buy the device and the Boox Palmer as well in the description for this video. I get a small commission if you use one of those links to buy the device, so if you do want to buy it and you use one of my links, thank you very much. Right, so let's get on with the review. And sometimes reviews for devices like this can be difficult to do because it's difficult to describe what the device is doing. You know, people are familiar with like Kindles and Kobos to a lesser extent and what those devices do, but there's this whole range of devices coming out of China now that have, you know, e-ink displays, so have similar displays to Kindles and Kobos, but that do different things. And it can be a bit difficult as a reviewer to kind of position those devices. With the Boox Go Color 7, it's actually really easy. So this is an e-reader that you can also install apps on. Simple as that. Think about it like that. And that's definitely how Boox are marketing it, and how the device is designed as well, how it's set up to use. So think of it as a Kindle, but you can also install other apps. And what that means is you can read your Kindle books on it. And you can read your Kobo books on it, and you can read your like Overdrive books from the library, and you can read manga on it. So you can read whatever you want to on this device because it runs Android. So it's running Android in the background, which means you can install any apps you want from the Play Store, and it has the Google Play Store pre-installed, works absolutely fine. So I've installed on it the Kindle app, the Kobo app, the Viz Manga app. I've tried like, you know, Libby and things like that. All of those things work fine. So it's a really versatile device. But first and foremost, it's an e-reader. So you can install other kinds of apps on it as well. You can install, you know, I've installed the BBC News app on it, which is quite nice to read the news on. You can install YouTube on it, which, you know, works. It's a bit kind of janky, but it works. But first and foremost, it's designed to be an e-reader. And because of that flexibility, if you are a Kindle reader, you know, and you've got loads of Kindle books in your Kindle library, and you're thinking about, you know, maybe trying a different kind of device, a non-Amazon device, this will work fine for you. Just install the Kindle app and all of those books will be available to you. You know, same for Kobo, same for, you know, for other types of devices as well. So that is in a nutshell what it is, and it does everything it sets out to do. It does really well. It just works, and I've had a really good time using it over the last kind of week and a half that I've been using it in preparation for this review. So let's dive into the device and have a bit of a look around. So as you can see, it's set up with this kind of simple overlay over the top of Android, which gives you a very simple menu system at the bottom. So you've got a library tab, a store tab, a storage tab, apps and settings. So the library is where if you've side-loaded books onto the device, and you can do that either by plugging it into your laptop and transferring them over, which is what I've done, or by using, you know, putting books onto Google Drive or something like that and downloading them to the device. If you do that, they'll all show up here, and you can read them to your heart's content. And the inbuilt reading app on this device is a pleasure to use, and I found myself using that in preference to like the Kobo app or anything like that. It's simply designed and really easy to use, and the device is really responsive as well. I was impressed by how quickly the pages turn. It feels like a very seamless reading experience. You've also got the store tab where you can download a load of different kind of free classic books. You've got the storage tab, which just shows you, you know, what storage you've got on the device, what kind of things you've got stored on there. And you've also got the apps tab, and this is where it gets very different from a Kindle or a Kobo. So it comes with the Google Play Store installed, and you can install whatever Android apps you want on it. So as you can see here, I've got Audible installed, I've got BBC News installed, I've got the Kindle app, I've got Chrome, I've got Read Era, I've got Shonen Jump, I've got Viz Manga, and all of these things work just fine. They work perfectly on this device. Obviously, the fact that it's got an display means that watching videos or something like that is not going to be anywhere near as good an experience experience as it would be watching it on an iPad, but for reading, it's perfect. So I've also got the Kobo app installed, and as you can see, if I go into that, I can just click into a book and start reading. It works perfectly. And because it's got a colour screen, you can also read colour content on here. So I've got some TMNT comics from Kobo, and as you can see, they display really nicely. These e-ink colour screens are always going to be a bit more muted than LCD screens, but they do work and they are pleasant to read on. Because this device has a 7-inch screen, I find it a little bit small for reading like American style comic books. I think you need a slightly bigger screen for those. But for manga, it works perfectly. So if I go into the Viz Reader app, because manga comics are like a slightly smaller format than American style comics, they work really, really well on this kind of 7-inch screen. So you can see the Viz Manga app, renders really, really nicely, looks fantastic. If I click into one of the titles, I can go into it and you can see it just works very nicely on this 7-inch screen. There's a little bit of ghosting when you're turning the pages because it is like image-based content, but it's still absolutely fine for reading on. I read the first instalment of Detective Conan, or Case Closed as it's also called, and it was a really fun, pleasant reading experience. So let's talk quickly about the physical design of the device. I think they've done a great job with it. It's just simple and it works. The asymmetrical design I really, really like. You've got this nice big bezel on one side with page turn buttons that work really well. So they work with the inbuilt Reader app. You can use them with the Kindle app and the Kobo app. I haven't managed to get them to work with either of the manga apps I've got installed on this. And I think that's because the app needs to support them. But for most of the reading apps I've used on this, they work and they work really, really well. And it just makes reading simpler and easier. And it's also worth noting that the bezels on the other three sides of the screen are really slim. They're really, really small, which means the overall size of the device is smaller. Despite the fact it's got a 7-inch screen, it's quite a small device. It's certainly noticeably smaller than something like the Kobo Libra Color. And it's not too heavy either. It's nice and light to hold, and that makes it, with the page turn buttons, really enjoyable to read on. It just sits nicely in your hand, and you can use those page turn buttons to navigate through the book as you go. So a real pleasure to read on. So as I said earlier, I think everything it sets out to do, it does really, really well. There are two features it doesn't have though, which I just wanted to highlight to people so people were aware. The first one is it doesn't support pen input. So at some devices nowadays, you can scribble on them with a stylus. You can't do that with this device. So if that's important to you, bear that in mind. The other thing is that it's kind of splash proof rather than water resistant. So it hasn't got the same level of water resistance that some modern devices have. So, you wouldn't want to use it to read it in a swimming pool, for example. But for everyday use, I think it's absolutely fine. The other thing I wanted to talk about was battery life. So I fully charged this since like over a week ago. Since then, I've read basically 2 books on it. So one complete book and another book, which is a long book, kind of a 500-page book. I've got about 75% through. I've also read a volume of manga, and I've just been doing various different things in preparation for this review. And the battery is now at 53%. So I think if you're just reading on it, you're probably going to get a good 2-3 weeks of battery life out of it, which is good, better than I expected, to be honest with you. Maybe not quite as good as a purely dedicated e-reading device, but certainly decent. The other feature it does have, which is worth talking about, is it's got inbuilt speakers, and it's also got Bluetooth, so you can connect headphones to it. And because you can install apps, that means you can listen to audiobooks or music. I've tried Audible on here, and it works fine, but you could also install Spotify or whatever, and listen either using the inbuilt speakers or Bluetooth headphones or a Bluetooth speaker. All of those things will work just fine. So there you have it then, my review of the Boox Go Color 7. And as you probably gathered, I'm really, really impressed with it. I think Boox have come up with a simple concept, an e-reader you can also install apps on, and they've just run with it, and they've done it very, very well. There are a couple of limitations, which I mentioned in the video, but aside from those, I think this is fantastic and a really good option for many people. It is slightly more expensive than a Kobo or a Kindle, but it can be either a Kobo or a Kindle or both because of that ability to install apps. So I think that makes it a very compelling device. So as I said at the start, I'm not a techie guy, so if you want more technical information, you may want to find some other videos on YouTube to watch. But if you like the look of the device and you want to buy it, there are affiliate links in the description to the video, so you can look at more information and make that decision for yourself. I will be doing a couple of other videos on the Boox Go Color 7. So I had a load of questions on my unboxing video from various people. So I'm going to do a video where I answer those questions. I'm going to be doing a video where I compare it to the Kobo Libra Color. So in many ways, it's a very similar device. It's a similar size. It's got the color screen. So I'm going to do a direct comparison video between the two devices. Anyway, I'll leave it there for now and say, as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.